Welcome to a new video! Today I'm going to share with you my very requested update for Lyrilusc Tri-Brigade. Now this is an update that I'm very excited to share with you because I absolutely enjoy Tri-Brigade as an engine, and I'm very excited to just show you what I came up with because there are some particular changes that of course I made from the previous list. But before we jump right into the video itself, I'm going to remind you that if you want to see more videos like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It helps a ton, every subscriber count. And let me know in the comments down below, what do you think about the list? What do you think you will change? Some particular things you don't understand, you know, the usual questions, suggestions. I really like to read all of your comments, and of course, give a like to the video if you enjoyed. Without further ado, let's jump right into the list itself. Alright, jumping into the list itself, we're going to start things off with actually the Lyrilusc lineup of cards first. We're going to start with the 3 copies of Turkey's Warbler. Turkey's Warbler is absolutely the best card in the entire deck. Where it comes to the Lyrilusc at least. This card, when it's special summoned, is allowing you to special summon a Lyrilusc monster from your hand or graveyard, and if you control no monsters, is a free special summon, which is pretty easy to do. So, for example, let's say you open up with 1/1 and then a Lyrilusc monster in your hand that is not this, you activate the 1/1, you discard the Lyrilusc monster, you special summon this out of your deck, and then you just get the monster back due to this own card effect to special summon the monster out of the graveyard, which is absolutely amazing. Now, for the next Lyrilusc monster, we'll run 2 copies of Cobalt Sparrow. Cobalt Sparrow is a card that when you special summon it, allow you to add from your deck to your hand another copy of a level 1 winged beast, except a copy of itself from your deck to your hand when it's, of course, like I said, special summoned. Another thing that this card do is that when it's used for the Xyz summon of Winged Xyz, you're able to give that monster the ability to not be targeted by your opponent card effects, which is actually really good when it comes to your searching of Sapphire Swallow, not Sapphire Swallow, Recure Starling or whatever her name is, the Xyz that is at 1, because your opponent will not be able to target it when you're trying to search a card, which is actually pretty good. Now for the next one, this is Sapphire Swallow, not the card that I mentioned from the extra deck. Sapphire Swallow is a free special summon if you control a Winged Beast monster, and it does have the effect when it's used for the Wind Xyz summon of, for the Xyz summon of a Wind Xyz monster, you're able to also attach another Lyrilusc monster from your graveyard to that monster as a material. Then for the last 2 Lyrilusc monsters, run 1 copy of Celestine Wagtail and 1 copy of Beryl Canary. Both of these cards I feel are great cards, but due to the fact that we have only 1 Starling and we don't really play the F-Zero package anymore, there's really no reason to play more than 1 of each. Celestine Wagtail, when it's special summon, search a Lyrilusc spell and trap, which the only one that is viable technically is Bird Call, so there's really no reason to play more than 1 copy of this. However, when this card is in the graveyard, it's allowing you to attach itself as a material for your Lyrilusc Xyz monster you control, which is really good, so it does giving you that, which is pretty nice. Beryl Canary is a free special summon from your hand, and it can, like, for special summoning, it have to target Lyrilusc monster in grave, and then you can special summon this card and that monster from the graveyard as well. And then you cannot special summon monster for the rest of the turn except Xyz monsters, but it does give you, if you have another Lyrilusc level 1 in your graveyard, it just, oh hey, I target it, special summon, then special summon, for example, this, and then you can just immediately go into your Sun Blue Robin with 2 materials, which this card also give the monster the effect that it get 200 or more attack, and its control cannot be switched, which is actually kind of nice if your opponent play Change of Hearts or things like that. But that does it for the Lyrilusc monsters. Now we'll move on into the Tri-Brigade lineup. We're playing 3 copies of Fractal, 3 copies of Nerval, and then we're playing also the double copy of Keras from last list. I actually played 1, but I decided to bump it up to 2. And then instead of playing 2 Kit, I'm actually playing the 1 copy of Kit, so I decided to bump it down to 1. Now, I do have my own reasons to do that, because specifically, I'm just going to say this right now, the Foolish Burial effect for Kit doesn't really come up more than 1 time per game. It's just really unnecessary to use this card more than 1 time. It's not like the, I don't know, the Zodiac version with this deck or other decks that you actually need more resources in grave. This is one of those decks that just can play with the bird most of the time and actually very consistent, so you don't really need more than 1 copy of Kit in the graveyard, so it's really just unnecessary. But you could play more than 1 if you feel like it. I just think 1 is more than enough. Now, the way that this deck works is the following effects for these guys. This one can discard itself from the hand or field to send a level 3 Tri-Beast card, which is Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast, not Tri-Brigade, just Tri-Beast, from your deck to the graveyard. So most of the time you just use this to send this. Of course, if you don't have this in deck, you send this, but you send this, which is a Foolish Burial for all of your Tri-Brigade cards when it's sent to the graveyard. Then this will most of the time send this, unless of course you don't have any other target, which shouldn't really happen, but whatever. You send Nerval. Nerval, when it's sent to the graveyard, you're able to add from your deck to your hand any Tri-Brigade monster that is not itself. And then most of the time you add this card if you need an extender, or this card if you just want to. It doesn't really matter which one of these you add. Most of the time I just add the Karis because it's a free extender, but because Karis have the effect that it can discard any Tri-Beast card to special summon itself out of the hand, so that's kind of like the main combo. And the reason why you want to fill your graveyard with Tri-Beast cards is because these cards share the following effect, that they can banish a number of Tri-Beast cards from your graveyard, which in your extra deck is only going to be 2, 3, or 4, to special summon out of your extra deck the monster with the same link rating. So, for example, let's say I banish 3, I'm able to summon, for example, a Rugul out of my extra deck. Now, it doesn't count as as a link summon, so this doesn't count as a proper summon, so you cannot summon it back, but it is a really, really cool effect to just banish 3 cards from your graveyard that you don't need and just summon it. And then you are locked for the rest of the turn to only use Tri-Beast card for your link summoning. So cards like All Mirage, if you are forced to use it with your Nerval or Kit, I would say in advance that you're not able to use it. So it's just here for, if you open up with Nerval and Kit and Nerval and Kit, sorry, and you're not able to open up with anything else. But just in general, most of the time you're just not going to have that problem anyway, so that's completely fine. And that does it for the Tri-Brigade lineup, but before we jump right into the hand traps, there is one last card specifically that I decided to run, and I've seen some particular list run it, and I'm absolutely loving this card, and I do understand the logic. However, I do have to proxy it, unfortunately, because it didn't arrive in mail yet, and that is the one copy of Fabled Cerberol, which this card is really, really good, especially in this deck because you have some particular discard effects. This card, if it's discarded, is able to special summon itself. It's a level 2, it's a tuner, and it works pretty well with Kit and Karis, and it's allowing you to summon with those two a Herald of the Arclight, which is an absolutely amazing floodgate, which you prevent your opponent from drop-letting you, and also just having an Omni Negate, which is something that this deck kind of lacks, and also just not putting all of your eggs in one baskets with the Appaloosa, so that's why you like to run this card as a one-off. Of course, if you don't want to run this card and you feel it's unnecessary, this can be another hand trap, draw a card, whatever you want this to be, but I just think like this is just a great one-off. But that does it for the monster lineup. For the hand traps, we're running 3 copies of Ash Blossom, double copies of Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion, 2 copies of Effect Veiler, and 1 copy of the Searchable DD Crow. This is the lineup of hand traps that I decided to run. Now, the Ash Blossom is absolutely mandatory. Effect Veiler, I think, is just really, really good. It's also a level 1 if you have to, for weird reasons. Bell can actually be copies of Nibiru, Droll and Lockbird, additional copy of Effect Veiler, and additional copy of Crow if you feel that you need the Crow specifically. Just Crow is searchable in this deck due to the effect of Shurug and your Lyrilusc monster, so you don't really need to play more than 1, in my opinion. But if the format called for it, I might going to run more than 1. Regardless, I decided to run Bell specifically because I felt Nibiru is less and less impactful as I'm playing with it. Now, of course, it's up to personal preference, but I don't know, I just felt because of the adventure stuff and everything, I just didn't really need the Nibiru that much, because with the Pank stuff and everything, I felt like a Ghost Bell can stop them in their curve a little bit better in some choke points than the Nibiru, because people are already playing around Nibiru too much anyway, so it's honestly up to you if you want to play the Bell or the Nibiru or the Droll or Ghost Ogre or whatever. It just for this particular matchups that I deal with and everything that I test with, I felt like Bell just did the better job, at least for me, right now in the format. But this fell to the ground, so give me a second. There we go. But that does it for the lineup of hand traps, and does it for the monster lineup of overall. Now we'll move on into the spells. For the spells, we have a very small chunk of spells. We don't really have a big one. We started with 3 copies of obviously the best search card in Yu-Gi-Oh! In my opinion, as well. I've seen some people saying that as well, and I actually agree. This card is absolutely ridiculous. This card just does so many things. Like, maybe there is one particular searcher that is better than this, but for the most part, it's one of the best ones, if not the best one, as I mentioned before. Because this card allowing you not only to take a Lyrilusc monster and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard, but after that, oh, if you have another Lyrilusc monster with a different name, oh, you're just getting a free special summon. So like I mentioned before, let's say you have a Turkey's Warbler in your hand, and you basically don't have another bird. You have this plus Bird Call. You basically use Bird Call to search, for example, a Sapphire Swallow, whatever you need, Sapphire Swallow, a Cobalt Sparrow if you need to, or even send it to the graveyard because it doesn't really matter. You special summon this out of your hand due to this card effect, and then you're able to summon the Cobalt Sparrow out of your graveyard, all in one card, which is absolutely ridiculous. Like, this card is amazing. You have to play 3 of this card. This card is just the best support card they ever got. Next up, for your other search card, we're playing 2 copies of Tenki. Tenki is back at 2. Might as well play it at 2, because this card just search your Fractal. That's pretty much its whole purpose, and it's really, really cool that this card is coming back. I don't know why they brought this back, although I think it's not as worse than it was before, but it is what it is. Anyway, Tenki is back at 2, so might as well play it, yeah? But for the next spells, we have 4 spells, which is Foolish Barrel, 1-for-1, Cold by the Grave, and Cosmic Cyclone, which is our one-off spells that I decided to run. Cosmic Cyclone is arguably could be Harpy Feather Duster, Twin Twisters, whatever you want it to be, but I decided to go with Cyclone because it just banished the problem and just deal with it. Cold by the Grave just to deal with hand traps, 1-for-1 because we do have a lot of level 1, and Foolish Barrel because it does allow us to start our combos with a kit sometimes to start a Nerval, or even Foolish something for your Turkey's Warbler if you don't have anything in your hand that you can just use. So that's pretty good. Now, one thing I would say before we'll jump right into the rest of the cards here, I don't run Desires. And there is a very good reason why I don't run Desires. This deck specifically have a lot of names that I actually need for my combos, like Cerberus, and you also need a lot of the Tri-Brigade cards to do your combos, and even just some of the Lyrilusc cards specifically. So running Desires just felt like more of a card that I want to actually use after I'm finishing my combo to then draw into more hand traps, but sometimes it can also screw follow-up, which is a big issue, so I decided to not run this card as an overall. I definitely agree that it's a great card, however this deck have a lot of recovery and a lot of ways to just recover anyway with the one card, so it's felt unnecessary, and also it's just a mid-range deck, so I felt like the banishing of the additional 10 cards in the top of our deck and a lot of very important resource cards could be a little bit of a problem. However, if you want to, you can cut the Cosmic Cyclone and the Cerberus, and then just run the 2 Desires if you need to, and then you just change one card with the extra deck because we don't run, you don't run the Herald of the Arclight. But honestly, it's up to you. I just felt Desires is not really that necessary because the deck can just deal without it, and like I mentioned before. But if you want to run Desires, totally up to you. But I decided not to. But that does it for spells. For the traps, the only Tri-Brigade traps that we run 1 copy of Revolt. It's unnecessary in this deck to run more than 1. This deck has like a very explosive finish with the Zeus and with the like the follow-up access code anyway, or the Assembled Nightingale, so there's really no necessity to run more than 1 Revolt. This deck is far better in recovery than the Tri-Brigade Zoo version that do run this card at 2, plus we don't really have the space, but if you want to run the second copy of this, you're more than welcome to. I just think you don't need more than 1. Then for our last hand trap, we run 3 copies of course, Infinite Impermanence. This is a great hand trap, this format, and it's a card that I think I recommend to run. If you don't want to, again, you can cut this for another hand trap of your choice, but I think Imperm is just a great card. But that does it for the main deck, 40 cards. Now we'll move on into the extra deck. For the extra deck, I'm actually going to start first with our, well, Synchro Monster. We're only running 1 of it anyway, so we're running 1 copy of the Herald of the Arclight. Like I mentioned before, this is great against droplets. It's an Omni Gate, you just leave it on your side of the field. And there are some decks that are going to get hurt by this. Like, they need to remove this first, and if they have to, like, use an actual specific card to remove this, or just even just Lightning Storm you just to remove this specifically, you already just got what you wanted. You just got rid of like a very powerful card that could have wiped your board, and then you just have still enough interruptions to sometimes deal with your opponent's board anyway. So the 1 card Herald of the Arclight is, in my opinion, very necessary, and especially in these particular formats with a lot more spells than everything. And then for our, well, Xyz lineup, we're starting with the Lyriluscs. one copy of Recall Starling, one copy of Assembled Nightingale, and one copy of Assembled Robin, which is technically 3 Lyrilusc monsters. I said like 3 before for some reason, but point is, all of these cards are absolutely important. Recall Starling is your searcher for your Winged Beast level 1s, so you're going most of the time to search with this card. It's also a nice attack booster, but we don't really use it for that. Assembled Nightingale, we use her to basically have enough material on it to attack your opponent directly multiple times, and then just slap on top of it the Zeus if we need to, or sometimes actually finish our opponent for game, which is really cool because this card, the more materials it has more attack, and the more attack it has, it can also just deal more damage, but the more materials it has, it also can attack directly the same number of times. So let's say it's have 5 materials with the 5 different Lyrilusc monsters, you basically have a 1,000 attack monster, and because of also the Barrel Canary, it becomes 1,200, so it's basically 5 times attack your opponent face for 6,000, and then if you have another way to just deal 2,000, it's absolutely ridiculous. So this card is really, really powerful and very, very good. And then a Sun Blue Robin, I run this card at 1. It's just allowing you to have another combo line for particular plays, because sometimes you do open up with the Tri-Brigade Revolt, and you don't really need to lock yourself with the Bear Broom, so having the ability to have just like an additional really good Xyz that can just bounce opponent cards back to their hand is absolutely ridiculous. Not to mention, sometimes you don't really need the Revolt, or you're not able to get access to the Revolt efficiently, so having another combo line with the Assembled Robin just felt really, really good. Then for the last Xyz monsters, 1 Drowned Magician, 1 AA Zeus, Sky Thunder. This card is absolutely mandatory in a deck like this. This card is just ridiculous. This is another way to just give yourself a little bit more of a grind. Downward Magician, you just slap it on top of your Assembled Nightingale, and you just have your evenly matched on legs, which is ridiculous. Like, this card, I don't really understand why it was made. This card is just insane. Anyway, for your Link monsters, for the Link 1, we have 1 copy of All Mirage, as I mentioned before. Sometimes you need to link over the Nerval or Kit to just get their effects, so that's why you need the All Mirage, but you're not always just going to use it as a material later. It is what it is. For your Link 2, we have Double Dragon Lords, 1 Ferrigit, and 1 copy of Bear Broom. Ferrigit is probably the only card I would say sometimes I missed the second one, but if you actually need the second one, I feel like I'm most of the time just going to lose, so sometimes I do need the second one, like out of my extra deck. Like if I have a 16 spot, I would probably put a second Ferrigit, but I don't know, most of the time I just don't miss it. Only in like really, really, really bad spots, I just need the second Ferrigit. For most of the time, you just need the 1. As for these cards' effects, you have Ferrigit, which is a free special summon for your Tri-Beast cards out of your hand. Of course, she lock you if you haven't locked yourself already for only using Tri-Beast cards for Link material for the rest of the turn, but it doesn't really matter. And then if this card is sent to the graveyard, you're able to draw a card and then put a card on the bottom of your deck, which is allowing you to refresh cards that you don't need and just put the cards that you need in your hand, which is pretty good. So you draw into something more useful than the card that you have in your hand, you put the useless card or brick on the bottom of your deck, and you can just continue your plays. In the case of Bear Broom have an effect that does come up sometimes, especially because we have Cerberus, allowing you to discard 2 cards and then target 1 level 4 or lower Tri-Beast card that is banished and special summon it to your side of the field, which is actually kind of nice because you are sometimes going to just banish 4 with Karaz, which including with a kit, and then you're just going to use this card, discard a Cerberus, and let's say another card because you just summoned like Sharug, use the you will see in the combo. The point is, but it's basically just an effect that comes up. But the main effect that comes up with this card is that unfortunately it does lock you for the rest of the turn to only summon Tri-Brigade monsters. But you are able to search a Tri-Brigade spell or trap from your deck to your hand, and then you put 1 card on the bottom of your deck, just like this one. I wish this one didn't have that clause, but it is what it is. And then Ancient Dragon Lords, or should I say Double Dragon Lords, this one is a bounce in your that you summon with the effects of your Tri-Beast cards, or Tri-Brigade cards, sorry. And also, this one does works well with Sharug, because if you're able to send Sharug to the graveyard after you're using it, this is another search, so that's also kind of cool. For your Link 3s, again, we only have 1, which is the 1 copy of Rugal. Rugal is my preferred one due to the fact that sometimes I link climb, so I do think I want the Rugal specifically in the case that I lock myself with a Bear Broom. but, well, it is what it is. You could play instead of this the Doom Eagle or the Scareclaw Link Monster, but I would not recommend to play that much the Scareclaw Link Monster because it does need 3 monsters. Although you could just summon it with the effects of your Tri-Brigade cards, but Rugal is not bad, it's just more used here as a stepping stone for your access code plays. And speaking of access code, we're going to Ring Force. We have 1 copy of Palooza Bow of the Goddess, 1 unfortunately proxied access code because I don't really have access code, and then 2 copies of Sharug because Sharug is best boy in this deck. 1 used for combo, 1 used for interruption. Very, very amazing card. This card is just absolutely ridiculous. On special summon, or if you special summon a Tri-Beast card, you're able to banish a card untargeting on the field. And then if this card is sent to the graveyard, you're able to search from your deck to your hand a Tri-Beast card, or should I say a monster, that is with a level equal or less to the number of banished cards, which is ridiculous. Access code, like I mentioned, with Rugal is just absolutely easy to make. And then Appaloosa is just your main interruption card that you are able to go to very, very easily with this deck. But that does it for the deck list overall, and does it for, the deck profile in terms of this lineup. Now, we're actually going to move on in the combo section pretty quickly. Welcome to the combo section. In the combo section, I'm going to share with you a few combos that I think are very important for you to know playing this deck. And for the first combo, we're going to open up with the 1 copy of Fractal and 1 copy of any Tri-Beast card. This particular Tri-Beast card should not be Celestine Wagtail or Cobalt Sparrow, because Cobalt Sparrow or Celestine Wagtail just make an entirely different board, which is a little bit more resource friendly, as I will show you in the next one. So you need to open up with these 2 cards, and as every Tri-Brigade combo goes, you mostly also need your entire hand because you need some certain discards. But let's get started. So starting things off, we're going to use the effect of Fractal, sending itself to grave. By doing that, we're sending the copy of Kit, which will send the copy of Nerval, which will also add to your hand the copy of Karis, and essentially filling up your graveyard. Now we're going to activate the effect of Karis, discard the Warbler, special summon itself to our side of the field, and now we're going to use Karis effect, banish all 4 materials in our graveyard, or 4 Tri-Beast card in our graveyard, to special summon out of our exo deck the Sharug. Now we're going to take Sharug and Karis to link summon into your copy of Bearbrum. And now we're going to use Karis, or should I say, not Karis effect, but Omen effect, to add to your hand the copy of, unfortunately, the proxied Cerberus, but this is the card that you're going to add to your hand. Now we're going to use the effect of Bearbrum, the first effect, discarding 2 cards, which one of them have to be the Cerberus, and then we're going to revive out of our banished pile the Kit, and now we're going to use the effect of Cerberus to special summon itself since it was discarded. Now we're going to use Kit effect by banishing 2, which will be these 2 specifically. You can go into your copy of Ferrigit. Now we're going to take Kit plus Cerberus, and we're going to synchro summon into your copy of Herald of the Arclight. Now we're going to take Ferrigit and the Bearbrum to link summon into Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess with 2 interruptions. Now we're going to activate the effect of Bearbrum and Ferrigit. Ferrigit, of course, can draw a card and put 1 on the bottom of the deck if you want to, but the effect of Bearbrum is what matters here. We're going to draw the Revolt and put a card on the bottom of our deck. After that, we set the Revolt, and of course, pass the turn to our opponent. Now, during the opponent's turn, we activate the Revolt, as always works here. You're going to, and sorry about the glare, I don't know why the setup this time, it's actually not really working correctly again. I think I just put something not correct here, so I'm just going to put it here just not to glare you all. Point is, you're going to summon all 4 monsters that you banished because it's just going to give you a little bit more resources in grave. And also one of them is Nerval, so that's also a good thing. So you're going to summon Fractal, Nerval, Turk Warbler, and Karis from your banished pile to your side of the field. You're going to use all of them immediately to the link summon of Sharug. During the opponent's turn, when you see fit, you summon Sharug, and then you also use the effect of Nerval in your graveyard to give you the ability to search any Tri-Brigade to your hand, which most of the time I'm just going to search the Fractal, because it's just a great follow-up for next turn. So yeah, you're basically going to have still 2 cards in your hand, an additional card to draw into, which is very, very good. But that does it for combo number 1. Now let's move on into combo number 2. So for our second combo, as I mentioned, you need to open up with the Fractal plus either Cobalt Sparrow or Celestine Wagtail. And in this particular combo, as I mentioned before in the first one, you don't use any other resource in your hand to put in the bottom of your deck or discard or anything, because you don't need that. Now, if you go with the Celestine Wagtail instead, you are going to use the Bird Call, but you are going to use the Bird Call to just search and not use its secondary effect, unless, of course, you have another, particular bird in hand, because Bird Call allow you to search the card, but at the secondary part of the effect then you can special summon. So if you don't have the other bird in your hand, you can still use it, but of course, if you have the additional bird in your hand, it's definitely good. But the reason why I'm going with Cobalt Sparrow is because it's more common in this deck, and just because it's more simple. But let's get started. So starting things off, we're going to use the effect of Fractal as before. Discard itself to discard the, or should I say, send to the graveyard the kit, which will send to the graveyard the Nerval. But at this particular point, you have the ability to add to your hand either the Keras or another copy of Fractal. In this particular case, I decided to go add the copy of Fractal, because Keras is an extender that you can discard for later, so that's why I'm going with this one. Now we're going to normal summon the Fractal. We're going to use his effect, banish 2 from your graveyard, which will be these 2, or it doesn't really matter which 2. You're going to special summon out of your extra deck the Ferrigit. Now we're going to use the Ferrigit effect, special summon the Sparrow effect, because it was special summon, add to your hand the Barrel Canary. Now we're going to go with all of these 3 to link summon into your link summon of Appaloosa, both the Goddess, with, of course, 3 interruptions. Now we're going to use Barrel Canary effect, that if this card is in your hand, you can target 1 Lyrilusc in your graveyard, which we do have one, special summon this, and special summon it, and then of course you lock yourself to the Xyz, but you don't really care. Now we're going to use these 2, and we're going to go into our 2 interruption material, Assemble Robin, and there we're going to end our combo. Now in this particular combo, you end up with 5 interruptions on 2 monsters, which 2 of them are bounces, 3 of them are monster negates. One thing I would say about this, however, is that this one cannot also be targeted due to the effect of Cobalt Sparrow, which is actually kind of cool. And also, you do have an additional 3 cards in your hand that you haven't used for anything, and you still have like 3 cards in your graveyard for follow-up for the effects of your, like other Tri-Beast cards if you have them. So that's actually kind of cool. So you do have specifically additional more resources, and it's not like the end of the world, but it's also better combo than the previous one because you use less resources and you have a little bit more freedom. But honestly, it's really dependent on the situation and what you're dealing with. But that does it for combo number 2. Let's move on to combo number 3. Alright, so for our third and final combo, all you need to open up with is Turkey's Warbler plus a copy of Cobalt Sparrow, and of course the 3 cards in your hand, because this one, you are going to search the Revolt. Now, the other options of open up with this combo specifically could be open up instead of Cobalt Sparrow, the Bird Call, or the Celestine Wagtail. In the case of Turkey's Warbler, if you don't open up with it, you can open up with the Bird Call instead. You can't, however, do this combo if you open up with these 2 cards. But one thing I would say specifically, if you open up with Cobalt Sparrow plus a Bird Call, you are going to end up the combo with also drawing another copy of Bird Call. And if you open up with Turkey's Warbler plus a copy of Celestine Wagtail, it just means that you're going to have yourself another options for going to different kinds of interruptions, and essentially just giving you more options. But this is the brain and butter combo, and we're going to do that one specifically. So, to start things off, obviously, we're going to special summon the Turkey's Warbler due to his old effect, which will special summon the Cobalt Sparrow. Cobalt Sparrow will allow you to add to your hand the Nerval. You want to play around the the copies of Droll Lockbird and things like that, so we're going to add the Nerval immediately, and then we're going to Xyz summon into our copy of, Starling. Starling effect, we're going to detach a material, and we're going to add to our hand the copy of Sapphire Swallow. Swallow effect, since we control a Winged Beast, special summon, and then special summon another copy of a Winged Beast out of our hand. Most of the time I like to summon it here, here, or here, like I said, because you want to use this extra monster zone all of the time because of link arrows. Anyway, we're going to link these 2 immediately into your copy of Ferrigit, and then we're going to use the effect of Nerval to banish all of the 4 birds in our graveyard immediately to summon our copy of Sharug the Ominous Omen. Now we got yourself 2 monsters that we can link into. we're going to link summon into the Bear Broom, and then we're going to use both of the effects of these cards. Chainlink 1, Nerval, Chainlink 2, Omen, because the search with Nerval is a little bit more important for me than Omen. If your opponent, for some reason, decide to throw now the Ash, I don't know why, but it is an option. Anyway, we're going to add to our hand with a Chainlink 2 the copy of Cerberus, which, like I said, I'm sorry I'm proxying, it is what it is. And then with a Chainlink 1, we add to our hand the copy of Karis. Karis effect will discard the Cerberus, and then we're going to special summon the copy of Karis. Although, funny enough, in this particular combo, because we haven't normal summon, you can normal summon the Karis and normal summon the Cerberus, or should I say special summon the Cerberus due to the effect of Ferajit, because you haven't normal summoned in this entire combo, so that's actually extra hilarious. But I do recommend to save the normal summon in case you have additional more extenders in hand, and you can do more particularly cool things. Regardless, we're now going to use the effect of Karis after this special summon itself, because it was sent to the graveyard by a card effect, or should I say discarded. We're going to banish these two, and special summon out of your extra deck the double Dragon Lords. Now we're going to use both of these, because we have to immediately, to synchro summon into our copy of Herald of the Arclight, and then we're going to take these two and link summon into our copy of Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess with 2 interruptions. Now we're going to use the effect of Bear Broom Engrave, and we're going to search to our hand the copy of Revolt and put a card in the bottom of our deck, and then we're going to set the Revolt, of course, and pass the turn to our opponent. Now, during the opponent's turn, of course, we can flip the Revolt immediately, of course, because of the glare, I'm just going to move it here, sorry about that, but you basically use the Revolt. Revolt will then just revive 3 cards that you want to from your, banish pile, which most of the time I recommend, again, Nerval, and I just do recommend to be one of the birds here just to give you more materials. And then the other card will be Ferajit, because of Ferajit effect, being a link 2, and because of her effect. You then link all 3 of these, and then you go, of course, during the opponent's turn, into your copy of Omen, which Omen Chainlink 3, Ferajit Chainlink 2, and Chainlink 1, or should I say Chainlink 2 Ferajit, Chainlink 2 Nerval, Chainlink 1 Ferajit, and then Nerval, of course, will add to your hand the copy of Fractal, which will be a nice follow-up. And of course, if you use Double Dragon Lord during that turn and send Omen to the graveyard, you also have the ability to search another follow-up or a copy of DD Crow, which giving you another kind of interruption. So technically, if we're speaking, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 interruptions in one particular combo, which is actually pretty cool. Of course, it can also just climb up a little bit more if you have additional more cards. But yeah, it's a pretty cool combo, and it's actually one of the more bread and butter combos for this deck. But that does it for combo number 3, and does it for the deck profile as a whole. Hope you learned something new, hope the new combo lines or everything like that helped you understand the deck more. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's move on into the next deck choices. Alright, so for our next deck choices, as always, we have 4 options. 2 of them I remember, which are Cyber Dragon and Dragunity from last week. The third one, for some reason, I once again forgot. I don't know why. I always forget one of the 3 options. Regardless, they're still on screen. And then the 4th option is, of course, Tri-Brigade, Zodiac / Pure Tri-Brigade, because I never really did this list on the channel. And if you guys want me to just continue the Tri-Brigade train, I'll be more than happy to, because like I said in the beginning of the video, I really enjoy this engine very, very much. But that does it for the deck list itself, and does it for the deck overall. Hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something new. Let me know in the comments down below if you have some particular other ideas how to improve the deck, as I mentioned before the start. And of course, give a like to the video if you enjoyed, and don't forget to subscribe if you felt that I earned your subscription. But that pretty much does it for me. See you in the next time. Stay safe. Bye-bye.